Greetings, all. Just a quick presentation because so many of you have asked about the claim that I made about $5 a day. You can eat an optimal diet for $5 a day. So, this is called the low cost of healthy food. So, first of all, a lot of media coverage about the fact that people on the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, the food stamp program, they receive somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 to $5 a day. In Pennsylvania, it's 420. It's actually 426, I think, is the average. So, can you live off this? Not only can you live off this, but you would probably be the healthiest person that you know if you follow this guidelines. So, as far as what we spend on food, there actually has been some research on this, and you feel free to read through all this. They look at what one person on average spends at the supermarket on food, and then the CDC averages about how much we spend on fast food. Comes out to be a little under $10 a day. NPR did some research recently, or a couple years ago. They averaged that, or they guessed that people probably spend about 10 to 15% of their total income on food. So the average salary in the United States is about 50,000 a year. So 50, 50, or excuse me, 5,000 a year probably on food, which comes out to be actually over $10 a day, about $13 a day. Again, there's been some research on this topic. They looked at, the cost of a healthy diet as defined by, the USDA versus, a diet based in fast food. And of course, they found that eating, at supermarket food versus fast food was certainly cheaper. But I honestly don't know anybody that eats fast food 3 meals a day. I'm sure there are people, but most people don't. So consider this. We have our hunter gatherer. You know, uh, 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, whatever. Um, and he's going through the jungle. What he's looking for in food is total energy, total calories, but he also needs nutrients. Nutrients being fats, proteins, carbohydrates, water, of course, and then all the various vitamins and minerals. Okay, so nutrient dense food that has the energy that he or she needs. Of course, they eat meat because meat is very high in energy. It's got a lot of nutrients in it. But believe it or not, they also eat a lot of fiber too, a lot of plant foods. So take our hunter gatherer now, and we take him out of the jungle that he's used to, and now he's in the supermarket. Now you still has energy, and unfortunately, if you look at that back row there, all that liquid energy is what a lot of people are getting their energy from. Unfortunately, that's not where you're supposed to get your energy from. Your liquids are supposed to be water, and that's about it. Maybe tea, an occasional glass of wine. So our hunter-gatherer is still hunting. He still is looking for energy, and he's still looking for nutrients, and that's still the goal when he or she is in the supermarket. Problem is that the food is much different. And again, hunter-gatherers always consumed animal products. There's no question about that. But there seems to be a lot of emphasis placed on the hunter aspect of the hunter-gatherer. They think this is because of gender bias in some of the anthropological record. The men primarily were hunters, and the women, the children, the elderly were gathering up all the food. So they did, of course, eat meat and eggs and things like that, but they also eat about 100 grams of fiber daily. So that's about almost 10 times what the average American is eating. So we still need energy, obviously, but we also we still need those nutrients. And while trying to exert as little energy as possible, or money in the case of the modern day hunter-gatherer. So where does this myth come from about healthy versus unhealthy food? The way that the supermarket prices foods, what appears to be healthier food is always priced higher. So I actually spent about 2 months doing this project, just going through the various supermarkets, and looking at how food is priced. And you can't really do it cost per calorie, but you can do it cost per 100 calories. So that kind of how it made sense. So again, we're still trying to spend as little money on possible on the most amount of energy or calories while assuring that we're getting all the nutrients that we need. So if you look at again the way that the food is priced, Thomas's English muffins versus the light English muffins, the cost is significantly higher per 100 calories. Same thing for light bologna versus bologna, fat-free potato chips versus potato chips. So we're actually spending more for less energy from the food when we go to quote unquote healthy foods. But light bologna is not healthy food. It's processed meat. Fat-free potato chips are still refined carbohydrate. Um, and again, of course, organic grass-fed ground beef is you pay a premium for that. 30 years ago, all beef was organic grass-fed beef. All chicken was organic free-range chicken. That those changes really only occurred in the past 30 years. So the generic ground beef should probably be the stuff that's labeled with, caution, treated with antibiotics and other drugs, things like that. But unfortunately, the organic is the one that bears the burden of extra labeling and extra cost as well. So if you go into the supermarkets, and every supermarket has their own name brand. So again, I went through Giant, Whole Foods, Wegmans, Trader Joe's. I went through all of them and looked at all the different pricing to see which store had the best pricing. Every store has their own name brand. Nature's Promise is in Giant. 365 is the group at Whole Foods, and of course Wegman has their own brand. So everybody has their own one. And if you look at these, generic store brand prices, they're all almost identical across all stores. So this is definitely a good way to go. But for some of the name brand stuff, there's no question that Whole Foods charges much, much more. Eden Organic Beans, for example, priced, what's that, 70 cents higher. Even like the same exact size of Horizon Organic Milk, you pay more than $1.50 or $1.50 more. Goya black beans, everything, olive oil, flour, again, these are all the exact same sizes, the exact same product, but the Whole Foods price almost across the board was significantly higher. So Whole Foods, at least from the research that I've done, is helping to contribute to this idea that healthy food needs to be more expensive. I love Whole Foods. I think it's great. I love going in there. I love the atmosphere. I love the smell. I love all the funky people. I think it's really a cool place. But you're certainly paying a lot of money for that atmosphere. And you can get all you need from Giant or in any other supermarket. So just real quick as far as what we're buying, and again, they've done research on this, about 32% of what we get at the supermarket is considered dry grocery, non-perishable foods, cereals. Not that we eat a lot of beans, but beans would be in there, rice. But it's mostly, again, non-perishable canned foods, soda, even Gatorade, things like that, juices that's considered dry food because it's non-perishable. And then meat, fish, poultry is about 17%. Produce, 14%. So again, Harvard says half of our diet should come from produce, and we're only at about 14%, unfortunately. Dairy, frozen foods, mostly. There is some frozen vegetables, and I would highly recommend that you consume frozen vegetables. I think they're a great source of nutrients. But most of the frozen foods are junk foods, and then donuts, things like that, and the baked goods. Deli meats should probably be included with meat, fish, and poultry. And then Pennsylvania is unique, and then it's one of the few states that does not sell alcohol in the supermarkets. So this is, again, I did a breakdown of my diet and exactly what I was consuming, how many calories, how much fiber, how much protein, and what I spent on all the food. And this is spending, shopping at the Giant, almost all organic food, almost all USDA organic food. I did make some exceptions, primarily for beans. But this is the full breakdown. This is a vegetarian diet. This day may have been full vegan. I guess it was, yeah. I don't really use a juicer much anymore, but at the time, I already had 70 grams of protein for the day, so I had a little treat of a little extra nutrients, a little, shot of juice and Swiss chard. Under $7 for, I don't need a full 2,000 calories. That's 18 to 1,900 calories is good for me. So, under $7. So certainly under what the average American is spending for food. If you're going up to a full 2,500 calories per day, the equivalency would be, under 850. So again, more than enough protein. Harvard says it comes out to be about 50 to 60 grams of protein for men. More than enough protein. It's plant protein, but it still has all the essential amino acids, and of course 70 grams of fiber. Again, I was still eating eggs back then, but this is just an example of a vegetarian diet. But the difference for this one is that at this point I had started my CSA membership, my membership in the Community Supported Agriculture, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But it was I go there for 4 hours a week, and I get all my food for free. I do some light gardening, things like that, for 4 hours a week, and I get all my food for free. So this is why the totals are so low now, because all my fruits and vegetables are for free. Um, I'm still paying for eggs, beans, almonds, walnuts, things like that, popcorn. Um, but everything else I make, and I like dark chocolate, so I've thrown a chunk of dark chocolate every night. Um, but with the CSA membership, I was getting down to $4 a day. Again, still plenty of fiber and protein. $3 a day. Again, depending on how much dark chocolate I feel like eating every day, and how much nuts, things like that, peanuts, sunflower seeds. Um, Oatmeal is actually pretty cheap. A thing of oatmeal, quick cooking oatmeal, it's done in 10 minutes and only costs 15 or 20 cents. Um, and of course condiments, soy sauce, things like that. Mushrooms I have to pay for because the farm doesn't grow them. Um, and of course cheese is expensive, relatively speaking. So animal products are always much more expensive than plant products, especially if you can join a CSA. So the CSA, if you're paying out of pocket, first of all, they have special pricing for SNAP participants. So a medium share comes to about $1.37 a day. So a medium share, $1.30 is, if you're following a full plant-based diet, you can live off of a medium share, no problem, and for $1.37 a day. You might want to go to a full share just to ensure that you're not kind of scraping by, which would be double that, which would be whatever double that is, 260, 270 something, 274, I think. So a person on SNAP could have a full share for $2.74, call it $3 a day, more than enough food for a whole plant food diet, easily. For non-SNAP members, it's a little bit more expensive, but again, $4.50 a day, something like that. That's what it comes out to be for a full share for one person. Again, it's really enough for 2 or 3 people. But if you're only eating on this food, if you're only eating this food, if you're only eating a whole plant food diet, you can easily get by on $4 a day, no problem. So a family of 4, following can have 10 months of organic produce for, $1,200 to $1,500 a year, something like that. It comes out to be, depending on the source. And there are places that produce meat. If you're interested in that, there's a place called Quarry Hill Farm. It's a really cool place. Highly recommend. Very, very high quality meat. Lamb, chicken, really, really good stuff. And it comes out to be about $1,000 a season, which is 6 months out of the year. But honestly, they give you, I think, like 50 grams of animal protein a day, which is more than enough. That nobody needs 50 grams of animal protein a day. You need 50 grams of protein, but 40 of that should be from plants at least. So, but even if you are, $2,000 a year for, even if you're eating 50 grams of protein a day, animal protein a day, if that's your thing, $2,000 a year is still pretty good. Plus, another $1,000 for produce, $3,000 a year. You're still, about almost half of what the average person is spending on food. So look at the traditional Okinawan diet. I think I always love this because it's almost 70% sweet potato. Obviously, this has changed, especially since World War II, and as a result, the Okinawan longevity has decreased. But this is what is considered one of the healthiest diets in the world. 67% sweet potato, a variety of different types of sweet potato. About 15% rice, a mixture of brown rice, white rice. Brown rice is probably optimal, but they do eat white rice. It's a cultural thing. And other types of grains too, but primarily rice. About 6% beans, legumes, soy products, primarily soybeans, but black beans are just as healthy. 9% was vegetables, and the vegetables were things that they were primarily growing in their backyard or were readily available. The bitter melon is actually more like a squash than a fruit, and edible seaweeds. You can probably get those there. I don't know that I would spend extra money on edible seaweed. I'm a little cautious about anything coming out of the ocean these days, but you can get a lot of the same nutrients from green vegetables, kale, things like that, collard greens, Swiss chard. And then 2%, I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to read, 2% was animal product, and then 1% was just other. So if you break this down by cost, for 1,800 calories, if you were to purchase all that at a supermarket, it would be under $5 a day. So $3 primarily on sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are $1 a pound. You could live off of, if you had to, you could live off of nothing but sweet potatoes, and it would be about $4, $4 to $5 a day. Called $4 a day for 1,600 calories. Which is what most people, most women especially, need. So $4 a day easily on sweet potatoes, and then of course, but following the Okinawan diet, 30 cents a day on beans, 30 cents a day on brown rice, maybe $1 a day on vegetables. Again, most of the vegetables are stuff that they're growing in their backyard anyway. Mushrooms can get kind of expensive, so I have to still purchase mushrooms because the farm doesn't grow them again. So that dollar may be more like $2 depending on if you have access to vegetables. But carrots, for example, 160 calories of carrots or squash is going to be about $1. And again, they don't really eat 50 calories of meat every day. It's like once a week they'll eat 200 or 300 calories worth of meat or fish or poultry, or else they'll just kind of mix it in as a flavoring. So it comes out to be pretty cheap. So if you were doing this at a CSA, it would be about $4 a day. And that $4 a day plus you would have to buy the brown rice. $4 a day includes the price of brown rice and meat, fish, poultry that you would have to buy at the supermarket, and the soybeans as well. So $4 a day, at a CSA. The problem, of course, is accessibility. But look it up. You can find a local CSA. You can get similar pricing at just a a farmer's market. Food co-ops are another great source of. But walk into a farmer's market, you can buy all this food for, $4.50 a day, $4.25 a day. And when you consider that a lot of the drugs that we're purchasing are directly related to diet. I'm not going to go through all these, but heartburn certainly, cholesterol levels, asthma is certainly influenced by diet. Every study ever conducted on the topic concluded that a vegetarian diet improves symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis. Crohn's disease is tougher. Multiple sclerosis actually can be almost halted, pretty much halted, with a pure plant-based diet. If you need information, just let me know, and I'll be happy to email you some stuff. Additionally, we're 300 billion on prescription drugs we spend in the United States every year. The government spends 182 billion on disability, which is more than they spend on education. 78 billion on SNAP, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. We spend $60 billion a year on weight loss products, 27 billion on dietary supplements, 20 billion on over-the-counter meds. So how much of this can be avoided if we just stick to, this? I don't know. $4 a day for this, or all the money for this kind of stuff. It's your choice. So here are some of the references. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.